This is Nat's voice. Taxi cab. This is Nat's voice on puberty. Taxi cab.
I sound so dumb. I sound like one of those dumb guys.
Actually, you sound like one of those adorable Timmerman brothers.
No!
It's probably just laryngitis, Nat.
But what if it's not? And what if Nat's voice really is changing? Will we still be able to have the band?
Puberty is a tricky topic for children's media. How and if you cover the topic is going to depend on the goals and maturity level of any given program. Most shows will ignore the topic entirely, and those who do brush against it focus pretty exclusively on the social aspects of puberty, how a young person feels about the changes rather than the changes themselves. This is probably best practices, especially in production environments in which a lot of adults have a lot of say over underage performers. It's a post-quiet on set world, so an episode of a mid-2000s Nickelodeon sitcom about puberty really makes one cautious.
See? A hair. Proof that I'm growing. Oh yeah. Now back off. It needs oxygen to grow.
Originally airing on March 10th, 2007, Puberty is the 6th episode of the Naked Brothers Band's first season. It was directed by series and cast creator Polly Draper, we'll get back to you, and was written by Magda Leolis, who had been writing for Nickelodeon since 1992, working on shows like Space Cases, The Secret World of Alex Mack, and Kablam. Brothers, Nat and Alex, along with the rest of the Naked Brothers Band, are in the midst of a promotion run which, among other things, involves them wearing fake beards. While in the studio, they run into the Timmerman Brothers, an 80s child pop act with a one-hit song about soap bubbles. However, their charm didn't survive puberty. Now they're adults, creaky one-hit wonders whose only real meal ticket is using that song in soap commercials. But don't feel too bad for them. They're not the sharpest pencils in the drawer.
Look, little people. You're not supposed to call them that. That's rude. What are you supposed to call them? I think Native Americans?
This gets the two brothers thinking about what growing up will do to them, gets them thinking about their inevitable journey through puberty. Nat isn't thrilled, and when his voice starts to get raspy, he starts to panic. Oh no, puberty is here! Alas, it's just a sore throat, but bandmate Rosalina expresses that she kinda likes the gravelly, deep voice. So Nat does his best to force it back.
Hey, Rosalina. Oh, you like my voice this way? You think it makes me sound older? I know. 11 is the new 13, you know.
Alex, on the other hand, wishes puberty would get here already. He has a crush on Jessie, the boy's much older babysitter. But all three of the Timmerman brothers are swooping in and asking her out on dates. Alex tries to force maturity onto himself, going so far as to read War and Peace.
Alex, are you still mad at me about the date with the Timmerman brothers last night?
Shh. I'm reading War and Peace and wearing deodorant. I don't have time for you.
The episode doesn't have much of a conclusion. Nat and Alex just kind of give up on their puberty quests after a while. Roll credits. It's an okay 30 minutes of television. It's a bit structureless, and the show just didn't have the highest caliber of child actor talent to carry things. It does have some interesting ideas, though. The Timmerman brothers are an interesting wrinkle to the show's premise, presenting a fate common to child pop acts during a time when child pop acts were pretty huge. This episode came out as Hannah Montana was becoming popular. Disney was trying to make all their child actors into pop stars, and Nickelodeon would follow soon after. And the episode doesn't really have a counter-argument against the Timmerman brothers, besides making them goofy comic relief. The show seems resigned to say, yeah, this is probably how this whole Naked Brothers Band thing is going to end up, so let's just enjoy the ride until then. The episode's discussions of actual puberty are mostly limited to talking about facial and body hair, which thankfully doesn't get much further than silly fake beards. There is one scene where Nat and Alex's dad explains the birds and the bees, which ends up being an obviously unscripted rant with random toys that reminds us that Michael Wolff is actually a jazz musician, not an actor or comedian.
The boy plant sits here, the bee flies up, bzzz, buzzes on top of the boy plant, then bzzz, goes to the girl plant. All of a sudden, they have a little baby, and the baby's right here. They said, I guess we're more than friends. Yeah, we're a family.
And that leads us into the larger topic of the Naked Brother Band's production. Because while this episode is just kind of mediocre on its own, It takes on several levels of weird within a larger context. For the uninitiated, the Naked Brothers Band began as a little independent film that actress and director Polly Draper made to showcase the musical talents of her and Micah Wolf's real-life kids, Nat and Alex Wolf. The movie is absolutely packed with Draper's family and friends, and when the movie became a pilot and the show was sold to Nickelodeon, most of those family and friends followed to the full show. I don't think I've ever seen a television show with this level of nepotism, certainly not a children's show. But that in of itself isn't the issue. The issue is who was cast in what roles. Jessie the babysitter is played by Jessie Draper, Polly Draper's real-life niece, and Nat and Alex's real-life cousin, and Alex has a crush on her throughout the show. This is weird. It wouldn't be so bad if it was just the movie, a little family-made flick that probably wouldn't be seen all that much except at the Draper family reunion. But the second this went to series, Jessie should have been recast. And it's really awkward here because most of the episode is about people pining over Jessie. Alex is trying to speedrun puberty so that she'll finally want to date him, and all three of the Timmerman brothers ask her out on dates. Now, the Alex thing was set in stone from the very beginning, but the Timmerman brothers are three new characters. We can find three talented young actors, and nope, Polly cast more family members. Two of the Timmermans are played by Jessie Draper's real-life brothers. Why? You have Nickelodeon resources now, Polly. You can cast real actors. When you know who these people are, the Naked Brothers Band suddenly has an air of a bunch of English nobles, cough cough, keeping it in the family. Not helped when you hear Polly Draper explain her casting decisions.
I had this niece who is so gorgeous and such a live wire personality. She has this figure that's like boob. She's 6 feet tall and she's so beautiful.
Hey, that's my girlfriend you're talking about. He's a
badass tattooed girl as the babysitter. And
then you had to give her a love interest.
I saw Jessie and Alex walking together, and Jessie was holding Alex's hand. Aww. And I thought, oh my God, that's the couple. It's so cute. He was like, 0 feet tall, and she was this giantess.
Are you trying to tell me that my aunt has got the hots for me?
Now, this isn't a Dan Schneider production, so there isn't a lot of moments that make you go, wait, is this fetish stuff? No, instead we have more classic sexual signifiers when it comes to Jessie. She's introduced in the episode at a distance, an object for the Timmerman brothers to notice and lust after. And in that scene, she's eating a banana. Now, we can argue if a cigar is just a cigar about most things, but a beautiful woman eating a banana while men fawn over her is about as cliche of a sexual metaphor as you can get. Jessie is absolutely being objectified in this episode, both by the characters and by the camera. Jessie, the character, is mostly there in service of the male characters, being very receptive to the Timmerman brothers' attempts to woo her, even though she doesn't know who they are and can't even tell them apart. And then she spends the final moments of the episode trying to make Alex feel better after she basically broke his heart going out with these three losers. This final scene with her has her on a trampoline for no reason. And while this is probably a more debatable signifier than the banana, I mean, she isn't wearing a bikini and there isn't a focus on, jiggling, but the episode was still only a few years out from the Man Show, and in light of everything else, it just feels suspect. I don't know, maybe I'm too Schneider poisoned at this point, but Polly Draper did not need to keep doing this incestuous casting, and Polly Draper did not need to direct an episode called Puberty, where her real-life niece is introduced with the most cliché blowjob metaphor. The Naked Brothers Band wasn't a Schneider show, but it was definitely of that Schneider era of Nickelodeon that made you do a double take and go, wait, is that what I think it is? And it's only looking worse for the show as time goes on. Ali D'Ameco, who played Rosalina, recently revealed that she had been sexually assaulted with an unwanted kiss from a woman producer, when she was still very much a child. I'm going over a lot of this behind-the-scenes stuff now, in part because I'm not sure if Knacks will ever get to 2007 at this rate, but also because Puberty becomes something very uncomfortable in its full context, going from a C- episode of a children's show with a few interesting ideas about show business to a huge mess that asks, why were these the creative decisions made? Honestly, I'm going to need a lot more time to sort this all out. Thankfully, for now, this was just a sample.